Hello, everyone. This is Ed Brenegar, and this is the Eddie Network podcast. And this is a special edition, a special episode. I've been doing these special episodes over the last few months as I've been in a time of sabbatical from writing and a sabbatical from social media. So I want to let you know what's going on in my head and what I'm experiencing and what I'm seeing. I have become very aware of a couple of things that I want to share with you. And one of those things has to do with trauma and suffering and loss, alienation, all these things which all of us experience at one level or another. And even people who seem to have everything going for them experience some of this stuff. What I have come to believe is that these are the things that define us. It's not the successes in the world. It's not the money we make. It's not the happiness that somehow we discover. Because it seems to me that those are very fleeting sort of things, but that it's the hardships, the challenges, the in those moments where we have overcome them, where we found some kind of peace or some kind of resolution. It's those moments that define us. And as I've been looking at this question of time, and this is what I'm talking about, and in terms of the sense that we are really defined by the suffering and the trauma and the hardship experience that we've had, that we're defined by that in terms of how we have overcome or how we've dealt with it. What kind of resilience do we show? Um, what kind of ability, capacity do we have to say, I'm not going to put up with this anymore. I'm going to work through this and get to a better place. It's those things which really define our history. And what I've discovered as I've looked at time over these last few months is that we tend to divide time into the past, the present, and the future. And what I've come to realize is that our history is basically generational memory. It's not what we find in books. It's not what shows up in a YouTube historical video. It really is the generational memory that is cooked into us, into our bones, into our blood, that we carry with us from childhood into adulthood. The stories we've heard or the actions that we've seen that have either encouraged us or horrified us. I've watched a lot of Mark Laid's soft white underbelly videos, and if you don't know him, you should look him up. He's a fashion photographer who decided to change his whole focus, and he moved from New York to LA and set up a studio on Skid Row, and he interviews people who are been traumatized by life. I mean, it's fascinating. And one of the things you find out is that trauma is associated with the breakup of families. When families are broken, trauma is transferred to the child. And when you know that, when you see that as a child and you find a way to overcome it because some other member of your family has reached out and said, I'm gonna help you get through this. I'm gonna take you in. You can live with me, or a school teacher, or a coach, a sports coach, someone, a minister, has said, we're going to get through this together. I see what you're going through. And we're going to get through it. And those memories, the memories of that kind of connection with people, where the suffering has been alleviated by love and care, those are the things that generate the sense of who we are. And that becomes our history, the history of overcoming hardship and the history of, okay, being able to see, well, I don't want to be like that. And so I'm going to be like this. And that's why generational memory is so important. And if you don't know your generational memory, then you should begin to try to piece it together. I think the second thing to say about this is that the present isn't just this thing that I create. The present is where all these things kind of they're like the drain in the sink. Everything drains to the present. The aspirations for the future, the trauma of the past, they drain to the present, and it comes together in it forms into a pool. And what is in that pool? Well, it's opportunity, wisdom, awareness, um, judgment, decision making, problem solving. I mean, these are all these things that we do all the time. And these are the captive activities of the present. But we're not doing it because we want the present to be pleasant. We're doing this because there's something that we want in the future, that aspiration in the future. And I think what we don't recognize is that the present is not this place to kind of create something secure and stable and certain. I don't think that happens. Um, One of the guiding principles of the circle of impact is we're all in transition, every one of us, all the time. And so if we're always in transition, we're always changing. The question is, what does that look like, actually look like? What does the change that I need to make actually look like? And I think that's very difficult for a lot of people because what they end up wanting to do, and I see this not only in people, but I see it in organizations, is that they want to change and hold on to what they have. And I'm becoming more convinced that if you want to ever become your best self, or if you want your company to ever achieve what its potential is, you must be willing to abandon your present circumstances. You must be willing to start over. Start over with wisdom, maybe start over with new resources, but willing to start over. This is what I did 10 years ago. I'd come to the end of a season that I called the three losses, and I'm sitting in my apartment and I'm thinking, so what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Have you ever been in that place where, I mean, I'm at the point where I could retire, and I could retire and put my feet up on the porch deck, and and I could sit there and drink tea and read books and watch the world go by. But I decided that if I'm going to do anything with the rest of my life, I have to move. And within a week, I had put an offer. I had moved. I basically had mentally, emotionally, spiritually moved from North Carolina to Wyoming, as I had put an offer on a condominium in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, in a week's time. And within another 3 months, I was living there. I gave up everything. And I haven't really thought about that much until recently. I was telling someone about that, and I realized that when I say I started over in every way. But that's what I think, if we want the future that we truly desire, that's what we must do. So the past is built on generational memory, and it comes from having come to understand the trauma of the past. The present is where all of this comes together in action. And the future is where we set our sights on something where it is worth abandoning that which we have brought with us so that we can achieve something greater than what we could if we tried to hold on to the past. This is what I'm seeing. And so the last thing I want to say to you, when we go through this kind of transition from the past to the future, and we recognize the people who have made a difference in our lives, it's really important to say thank you because you don't know if you'll ever see them again. You don't know in this era where people of all ages are dying without any indication that there was anything wrong. So you don't know, and I don't know what the future holds. And so it is, I think, vitally important that we reach out to those people and say, thank you for the impact that you've had on my life. I couldn't be where I am today without what you did for me. And I think if you can do that, if you can take that action today, then the generational memory will flow back in. You'll see the present as a time of awareness of what you must do and what you must give up to achieve what you want for the future. This may be what I end up writing about, or a version of this beginning later this summer. Because I think the challenge that we all face is not being successful or making money. That may become more difficult, but that's really not the challenge. It's not winning. The challenge is not winning. Anybody can win. If you're willing to put the money up, anybody can win. Look at professional sports teams. They just spend more money. Go out and buy those players. So winning is not the game. It's not, it doesn't gain us what we seek. There's something deeper. And that something deeper is a sense that our lives matter across the generations. It matters that someone 3 generations from now will be speaking about us and saying how grateful I am that they told me this thing or was there when I actually needed them. Because generational memory is not just something that's in the past, it is something that we create in the present and we work with and becomes nurtured in the future. I don't know what your generational life is like, but whatever it is, I would suggest you make it very clear to you who are the people who have had the generational effect upon your life, and that you reach out to them as soon as you can and say thank you. And you will not regret doing that. I feel that way towards all the people who have been on my podcast. And I feel that way to all the people who have introduced me to the people that you have seen on my podcast. I feel that way towards my sisters and their families, to my children, to my aunts, my cousins, my uncles. I feel that way towards my teachers from the past. I mean, I have thanked them. I have gone out of my way to thank them and to interact with them even 50 years after I had them in class. And that sense of historic perspective is irreplaceable. And I see who I am today as a product of their influence upon me years ago. So these are the people that we all need to be thanking today. And I wish you would do that. So where does this taken me? Well, this may be the book, it may not be. But if you have thoughts, email me, ed@edbrenegar.com, or drop a note in my Substack where this will show up. Because I do want to hear what you have to say. And if you have someone that you want to thank publicly, do that. You can do that through the Substack version of this. Because if you can do that, then other people that you know may see you in a different light and then come to you and say, "Well, thank you for doing that, and you've had an impact upon me in what you just did." So I thank you. I have some good things coming up. We're gonna. I have a couple of guys. I'm going to be doing a 10-part series this summer. I won't say anything more. It'll come out soon. But I thank you for watching, and stay tuned. And if you can financially support me through Substack, I greatly appreciate it. And I thank you. And we'll see you next time here on the Eddie Network podcast. Bye bye.